salary crediting onto your mortgage, using interest-free credit cards to pay your expenses. This is, again, relatively a simple thing, but a lot of people fail to actually use this, and that is that if you think about it, if you've got a credit card in your wallet that is interest-free for 30 days to 45, 55 days, if you actually use that credit card all through the month to pay for your groceries, your fuel, your electricity, your phone, etc., to pay those expenses, and you leave your entire of your salary on your mortgage, if you think about it, your mortgage is calculated daily, so you are reducing, you're making a huge impact on reducing the interest that you're being charged on that mortgage, certainly over the term. And then what you do is you use, obviously when you get to the end of the month, you just do a sweep and repay the credit card. The second thing about using your credit card to pay your expenses, if you go back to point 1, where you have your cash flow plan, if you're using one credit card to pay all of your expenses, it's a very good way at the end of the month to see whether or not you're within the boundaries of your cash flow plan. So it keeps obviously all your expenses in one place, calculates and works them out, and you soon know whether or not you're working within those boundaries. Increase payments on your owner-occupied debt and minimise those in the investment. So obviously your investment debt is tax deductible, so the idea is to get as much of your money as possible, reducing any owner-occupied or any bad debt, and making the absolute minimum payments you can on those investments because they are tax deductible. Get some advice regarding that. There is some amazing things that you can do to obviously allow you to pay, to legally reduce the tax that you pay, and to be able to give you more cash in your pocket to reduce those owner-occupied debts, which gets me to point 6, which is schedule done. And what you'll find is a lot of the guys out there that offer these depreciation schedules will actually guarantee that you will get the cost of the depreciation schedule. They guarantee that you'll get at least that back in their deductions. So very, very worthwhile to go and get those depreciation schedules done and to be able to get the maximum tax benefit that you can as a result of them. Pay-as-you-go variations, I'm a super supporter of pay-as-you-go variations. When I did my pay-as-you-go variation, I was very surprised that I went from being in the top income tax bracket down to got my tax down to 13%, which, as you can imagine, I was very, very pleased to do that. But I've helped a lot of my clients that are finding it difficult to cover the expenses, certainly the maintenance expenses with regards to property. So when you get those unexpected bills of, stove needing repair, or washing machine, or something outside of the general expenses, they're finding it difficult to be able to find ends meet. And I say to them, well, have you done your pay-as-you-go variation, which allows you to get your deductions back weekly, reduces the amount of tax you pay? Because if you're not doing that, what's happening is you're getting your salary as net, you're then trying to cover all the costs of the negative gearing of the property, and then you're waiting until the end of the year for the tax department to give you a big lump sum. Now, whilst it's very nice to get that lump sum at the end of the year, the tax department certainly aren't paying you interest on you giving them that money and them holding it for you over that year, but at the same time you're obviously paying interest or having to cover the shortfall out of your net. So super, super important that if you can, to do the pay-as-you-go variation. I will tell you that it's a fairly simple process, and that I've had in the past, because as you can imagine, it's an incredibly stressful situation if you do get caught. Today's tips, just running through them. Interest-only loans, I think I've covered that one, but super, super important for you to control your equity. Don't give that equity back to your lender. Too many people say, well, I'll choose principal interest and give my equity back to the lender. If I want it, I'll just reapply. Well, I think years of GFC and credit, there's no guarantees. Even if you understand that your situation, you'll be able to always manage to qualify that the credit is going to, the credit terms are going to be that allow you to borrow. So interest only, interest only, interest only, control that equity yourself. You can still, don't forget, on an interest only term, you can still repay principal. You can still choose to make those additional repayments and get rid of that bad debt. Understand fixed rate contracts. Once upon a time, the girl that never said never is now saying that certainly keep a look at those fixed rates. At the moment, there's some very, very good terms for 1 and 2 year. Certainly within that period of time you can understand what your situation is going to be, and the risk is obviously less for the 1 year term, and if it's better than the variable, understand the contract, understand what you're getting into, but you can certainly reduce some of those repayment costs or interest costs, which is good. Avoid cross securitization. Super important. There are lenders out there that don't do that, so obviously if you're going to become a property investor and you want to make sure that you can control your portfolio and that you're not going to get yourself in a situation where you're going to get caught, that you would be better off choosing a lender that's not going to do that, or certainly having a strategy in place. Speak to an experienced mortgage broker who's an investor themselves and get them to set up a strategy where you're not going to get caught out. Use a qualified mortgage broker. Very, very important. There's ASIC in our governing, NCCP's in play, and that's to protect you as a borrower. So make sure that you're using a mortgage broker that is not only licensed but is experienced and understands your own personal situation and understands that they give you the best. Don't shop on interest rate alone. My metaphor for this is, and it probably sums it up very, very quickly, is you don't drive into a service station and decide that as you pull in that diesel is cheaper than petrol today, so that's what you're going to put in your car. Well, you don't drive in with a diesel and decide that petrol's cheaper today and that's what you're going to do. It's as you need to be as far as interest rates go, but don't get caught in the world of shopping around and interest rates flip-flopping around. You end up with another metaphor that I use is that you can be a tradesperson and you end up with a car with 5-seater or a 6-seater car, or you're a family of 4 kids and you end up with a ute. Be very, very careful that when you shop on interest rate alone, it is possible that you can end up in completely the wrong facility, which is pretty serious repercussions later. Need to. This is an interesting scenario at the moment because I've got a lot of clients that set loans in 2008, and the current variable rate that's being offered by the lenders is much lower. With the same lender that they're currently with is offering a much lower rate than what their variable rate is, and they often don't understand why can't the lender just reduce my rate. And I tell them that it's the cost of funding at the time that they set that loan, and that refinancing is not always, whilst it seems easy, is not always the best option, and that you should take a look at everything as a whole and understanding where you're at and what you're doing. So we obviously assist clients with refinancing each and every day, but we will certainly take a look at their entire position, run through the pros and the cons of refinancing, run through the costs, and take a look at maybe sometimes staying put and going back to your existing lender. I mean, I would contact, for our clients, I would contact a lender 2 or 3 times a day for our existing. You'd be surprised. I mean, I won't be suggesting that your lender, if you go back to them every week or every month and say, can you keep reducing my rate, that you're going to get that. But certainly at some point in time, and ask them to consider for a loyalty, certainly if you've been with them and your repayment history is excellent, to consider reducing your rate to keeping you as a client. Many options, that you understand that you are actually better off to be moving that loan. Well, that's a wrap for today. I hope you found the session of value. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to you're joining us for our next webinar. Thank you.